Yo, what is up, YouTube? Spark Gang, Repeat Nation, Repeat Boxing, YBP MMA. I'm coming back with my 500th consecutive return video. After a long hiatus, the boy is back. Of course. But no, I'll do ultra side. What I'm saying? I'm trying to. Actually, I'm not even gonna say that. I'm gonna post when I want to. If it happens, it happens. I'm gonna try to hold myself accountable because I do love to yap on my Instagram. If you want to check me out over there, I love making breakdowns, of course, on the fights there. So if you want more consistent content, you'll probably find me there, even on my Twitter. But I think I'm gonna just make a rule: if I post on my IG, I'm gonna make a video about it. Like, these videos are usually pretty lazy; they're pretty just laid back. I'm just talking over a picture, so I'm not taking like the extra effort that I used to. Mostly because like the views kind of went down. I just don't really got the time or the energy to be doing all that. If I feel really passionate about that subject, maybe I'll go a little bigger. But these are just, little think pieces. I wanted to switch it up, talk about boxing for once. I feel like MMA. There's been some big stuff going on in MMA for sure, like Jones, Miocic and stuff, but I just never really got the motivation to get up and make a video. But this one, it's something new, it's something fresh, and it's about two fighters that, I've made content about prior. I think a couple videos on Shakur, and then actually, Schofield, I haven't really made any content on him before, but he is one of my favorite boxers coming up right now. For the simple fact that, like, I see the talent. If you guys don't know Floyd Schofield, he's an undefeated young fighter, ranked number 2 in the WBA division. Not the WBA division, in the WBA rankings, ranked number 2. And that's, I think, the same sanctioning body that has Tank as a champion. So, he's ranked number 2 there, lightweight division, up-and-coming prospect. He gets a lot of comparisons to guys like, Sean Porter, I think, is one that comes to mind. A lot of raw talent right there. I think there's a lot of potential right there. He's 22, if I'm not mistaken. Super, super young, respectful kid. You can kind of see the parallels with him and Haney. But I think Haney kind of, over the years, kind of crafted himself into his own identity. He didn't have to rely on his dad for trash talking and all that type of stuff. But there's a stark, difference between his demeanor and his dad's demeanor. Like, his dad is the promoter. And I think that's what kind of ticks people off, is his dad. Really, and that, for the longest time, that's what it was with Haney. That's what it is with, like, Tiafimo and all these people. So, but Floyd, he's a very respectful kid, somewhat, very humble, very, just, respectful with everything that he says. He's a very good spokesperson. He talks well for himself when it's just himself. But obviously in boxing, that's not always going to get you far. So it's a perfect dynamic that they got going on. It's something that I think a lot of people are trying to model themselves after, But Schofield, I'm a huge fan of him, man. I think he's he's a hard worker in the gym. And I think he has, a big potential to be something, like, huge in the sport, like the pure athleticism, the power that he can garner with his shots, his frame, his size. I think there's a lot there. I might sound like I'm glazing, but I think there's like something there's something like special that can be brought out of him, like a Sean Porter-esque fighter, but he could be even something better. You got to realize he's so young. But I've been very frustrated with his last couple performances, especially the last one they just had with I'm going to call him Mexican. I don't know if he was Mexican. Well, he was definitely Hispanic, but it was like a shorter, stature guy who was supposed to get out of there. And man, I watched that full fight. I think I missed the fight before this, but I've gone back and watched like all his fights. Man, like the potential is there, but he's so wild, he's so reckless on the feet, leading in with his head, taking more damage than he should in these like developmental fights, more than like any fighter really should. You shouldn't be like going to war in these like early fights. I know Abdullah Mason did have that fight where he did get knocked down early in the fight, then came back. But what did he do? He came back and got the knockout win. But otherwise, he's styling on these guys. He's doing what he's supposed to. He's getting in and out. Schofield is getting headbutt. He's getting cut in the head. Like, he's like taking these are injuries that like are scars that like are like really like, I'm not gonna say life threatening, but it's stuff that you shouldn't really be getting. Like, that's like a literal scar that's gonna affect him throughout probably the duration of his career. That's going to be something that's going to be easily opened up. That scar that he just got in a pointless, developmental fight. You shouldn't be going out there trying to. I'm not saying that you should take every matchup seriously, but man, he's just so reckless. He makes it so that all these fights are like freaking wars, and they really shouldn't be. That's kind of what his style at this point is warranting, It's kind of frustrating to see. He's a little too wild, a little too just all over the place, not sticking to the basics. And you can see when he chooses to box and when he chooses to, you know, like, sit down on punches, be more methodical with his approach. He could really do some special things in that ring, especially when he's shuffling to do like a, cut in and, make angles for a right hand, straight punches. He's amazing, but it's just, I don't know. I get really frustrated watching the fight. And then, to add the cherry on top, he's getting knocked down too in this fight. I think it's the first time he's ever got knocked down. Just really bad. It doesn't help that he's low-key feeding into his dad's persona almost. Now he's starting to believe what his dad is telling him. He's he was celebrated with body knocked out Silv. I mean, I love it. It's good. It's good to play that villain role, but man, pipe down. You are not that much better than him, to be honest. But like I said, I'm a fan. I think there's potential there. I got to ride for my people. I've pre-ordered my, the bandwagon. I'm not the bandwagon. I've been on the Schofield train for a while, so you know what I'm saying. So, hey, I'm in it for the long haul. I want to see what he can do, but that's not what we're even talking about. 6 minutes of me just yapping about such performance. We're here to talk about the rumors of the Shakur and Schofield fight, and man, if you saw my IG story, man, I think it's a death wish, man. I think it's a really bad fight for Schofield. I thought the Silva one was kind of tougher too, but I thought that he could match Silva in the athleticism, and maybe he could land some big shots to win on damage and win those moments. But man, you start to question, does Schofield even really have power? Because in a lot of these fights, man, he's throwing with all his might, and then he just can't catch people, man. He can't do much damage. Even people who are hella undersized. I don't know. He might have deceptive power to where he doesn't have as much power as you might think, or he has less power than you might think, not more. That's what I mean by deceptive power. It sounds like I'm shitting on him. I don't know. When it's your favorite fighter, or when it's people that you support, you gonna see more flaws in them than I think everyone sees it, but I'm frustrated because I see something good there, and he's just not listening to what his dad's saying, listening to what the people around him are saying. When he's fighting out there, he's just kind of fighting very immature, and that's just not, obviously that's gonna happen. But when you're trying to compare yourself to Haney wasn't fighting like this. Granted, they have different skill sets and stuff, but Haney was disciplined. Haney was, I don't know what that discipline was against Ryan Garcia, but that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. But against Cambosos, against, Linares, against, oh, sorry, my fault. My bad. But, against these certain fighters, the composure is there, and the certain stuff that you need to win these championship fights is there at a young age, at 23, I think, when he was undisputed champion. So Schofield's not that far off, 22. But man, the Shakur fight, we're not even gonna talk about the fact that he's gonna lose. There's nothing that he could do to Shakur that I think Shakur could probably eat his best punch. Shakur could do anything he wants to him in that ring. I don't know. It just really depends on whether Shakur wants to really fight, if he respects him, if he's gonna fight him like he did Edwin De Los Santos, or if he fights him like Yoshino. Both big punchers on paper, maybe one a little more of a puncher than the other, but ultimately, it's a masterclass on paper because I think he won every round. Did he? A lot of people were saying that De Los Santos was a masterclass, but on the scorecard, it was I think it was close. It was actually decently close. In the eyes of the hardcore fan, I think people thought that. That was a very impressive performance by the boy Shakur. But one like Yoshino, I think Yoshino is a really good example of a fight where, or even Oscar Valdez, where he's taking it to a guy who can hit hard, taking it to a guy who has power on paper, who has that damage and shots that can knock people out, and he's the one who's pushing the pressure, and he's the one who's going out and trying to take their lights out, To the best of his ability, obviously. Shakur isn't some devastating puncher, but yeah, I just think Schofield, man, this is a death wish, man. I don't know who's managing him. I hope that they're not just gonna do this for the heck of it. I just don't think there's any need to. I think there's something there. Like, this is not like a Brian Norman, Jerron Ennis situation. Like, I think Norman has nothing to lose if you fought Ennis. Like, I think Floyd definitely has something to lose. He's young. I know Norman's young, but no one knows who Norman is. He got the upset win. He was gonna get paid a boatload of money. I guess it depends. I don't know. I just think Schofield, like, he's so, like, far, like, not at least Norman was like a champion and he knocked like someone out. And I mean, who's to say Norman can't beat Ennis? Like, we've seen some chinks in his armor against Karen Chikadze. Maybe at the time that fight was getting discussed, it didn't seem that realistic, but something could happen. But this is just so lopsided. It would definitely be a cash grab for Schofield. Like, I can't see how he wins. I don't know. He's not going to be able to outbox him. He doesn't have the power to stick with him. He's really immature. The fight IQ is not there. He doesn't have the experience. I mean, as far as athleticism, I guess maybe he can catch him. Maybe, I don't know. But once you start talking about a fighter having a puncher's chance, that's as good as, you know, a lightning strike. You know, it's like, or a lightning strike you. It's like, most likely that punch is not going to come, especially against a defensively sound fighter like SHAKUR Stevenson. So I don't really know. I hope that they don't go through with this fight. I think it's pointless. I would love to see them go back to a fight with, you know, Ashton Silva or even Lucas Body. Let's see how he does against him, because I think he could beat Lucas Body. I think that's actually a really good stylistic matchup for him, considering, you know, how Lucas Body looked in his last fight. He seems like a power-dependent fighter. As far as boxing in between, Schofield's going to definitely be better there. He's going to be way more athletic, way faster than Lucas Body. He just has to avoid that big shot that, you know, Ashton Silva couldn't get out of the way of. But I think he matches up really well with Lucas Body. I think he could look really good in that fight. But, you know, fights with Silva, fights with SHAKUR, that's going to be a tough fight for Floyd Schofield. So, you know, I want the best for the kid. You know, I want to see what he can accomplish. But this is just not it, man. He's going to get, like, absolutely starched and embarrassed. It really depends, though. Like, if they're paying him, like, boatloads of money, I think it's, like, a crazy offer, like, for Riyadh. It's going to be, like, a Riyadh card, stepping in, presumably, for Zepeda. I don't know. I mean, why, though? I think Zepeda, even after the performance he had against Farmer, puts up a better fight than Schofield. You know, I think if Golden Boy wants to put their best foot forward against Eddie Hearn, you put it in Zepeda. You don't put it in Schofield. You know, even Eddie Hearn, sorry, not Eddie Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya said himself that the performance that he had was a C- against a D-level fighter. How is that, you know? That is really bad. If you're given a test to where, you know, you should be acing it, it's so easy, right? And you score a C on it, you know what I'm saying? That's really bad. That's a fighter that, you know, it's a D-level fighter. Very, very, very easy test. And you're supposed to score an A, flying colors. You score a C, you know, in the eyes of many. Some people would say you had an F. That's not good, you know, just to put it into some scholastic terms. But, yeah, man, not after that performance, not after that one. But, you know, I think there's a way that he could win and lose in that fight. I do love this new culture of fighters stepping up and taking these big fights and taking these risks at an early stage. Because, I mean, even though I do say he has something to lose, does he, though? He is the younger guy. He's the guy, you know, unproven. He'd be a huge underdog. What really does he have to lose? You know, he's the guy who's... it's up to SHAKUR to go out there and embarrass his kid. Not Schofield. Schofield just has to go out there and do what he does best and hopefully get an upset. You know, so... And honestly, if SHAKUR is the only loss that he has in his career, or if it's one of 3 or if it's one of 5, that's a pretty damn good loss. Because, you know, a lot of people project SHAKUR to be one of the greatest fighters that, you know, we're going to have in this generation. Him, you know, Crawford. They project him to be a fighter that goes undefeated. So, it wouldn't be a bad loss. So, I guess I'll walk back that point. Maybe he wouldn't be losing that much. I just don't see the point of doing it, like, with such a... It's just so great. I don't know why SHAKUR... I mean, I guess SHAKUR's just inviting it because a fight's a fight at the end of the day. They've been talking a lot. They have to back it up. You know, they do a lot of talking on Twitter, but the performances don't show it. And, you know, it showed to SHAKUR, but, you know, at least SHAKUR can say that, he's not getting hit, so bad and getting knocked down, having embarrassing performances, against. Shakur's not fighting complete slouches, like Schofield is fighting like this against bums objectively. I hate calling people bums, but relative, obviously. I'm not saying I could go out there and beat them, but I'm saying relative to Schofield, that's a bum. What was he, like a minus 1,000 favorite? Like, these are people that he should be smoking. I think he was favored to get the knockout. Fight wasn't even supposed to go that long, and he couldn't even. I don't even think he knocked him down. You get knocked down, you're going to war. It's just not a good look. So, my stance on it, I don't think the fight should really happen. I'd like for Schofield to take some more developmental fights. But if it were to happen, I love spectacles. I love interesting fights like this where it's like, Shakur didn't necessarily. This is. I think if everything was right, I don't think this is the fight that he would want next. Maybe it is. I don't know. I think maybe Shakur carries a chip on his shoulder, with all this they've been talking. But if it was up to him, he probably would want to fight. I don't know, Maxie Hughes or something. I don't know who he'd want to fight. But it's a different fight. It's another fight where he has to go out there and perform. But, it's against somewhat of a name. Schofield, we're familiar with him. He's a young kid. And, it's just one of those things where it's a spectacle. It's, like what's going to happen. Can Schofield produce a miracle? Can he implement his game? And can Shakur go out there and do what he's best at? So it'll be interesting, but really isn't, though. Shakur would just style on him, would just embarrass him, hit and not get hit, might even knock him out. Just not a fight that I'm really interested in. But let it happen. If Schofield is really, about it, if he's really that bad and he wants to back up what he's been saying on Twitter, what better? We saw what Berlanga did. Berlanga talked all that trash, got in there, and I was one of the people who were saying that he'd just get embarrassed. He kind of did, but he almost did it. He found a way to win while losing. He went out there, didn't get knocked out. I think he got knocked down. It was in the third. But, he showed that he had a big cojones. He went out there, represent his Puerto Rican people. Ate Canelo's biggest shot. Swung back. Granted, he was probably 200 pounds in there or something. But, that's boxing. You got to rehydrate. But maybe Schofield could do something like that. But again, that's the face of boxing. But now look at how that's catapulted Edgar Berlanga. Now there's people who have a lot of respect for him after that performance, standing there with a pound for pound great like Canelo. Could Schofield maybe do that? I don't know. I don't see the upside. I don't see the benefit. Does that even sell pay-per-views like that? Because that was a special attraction to where people didn't even really think Berlanga was on that level, but because he was Puerto Rican and because of the Puerto Rican-Mexican rivalry, you do that fight. What is the rivalry here? You just got two undefeated, black fighters, but the animosity is kind of manufactured. I don't know. It's just not the same. I don't know. I just don't see. Nah. I don't know. I don't even feel it. That's just not a fair fight, man. It's not a fair fight at all. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. I just yapped for 18 minutes, but I thought if we're gonna come back with a video, let's make it fun. So yeah, if y'all got any comments, if there's any thoughts on the topic, leave it down below, obviously. And more videos to come, hopefully. Maybe I'll drop one tonight talking about something. I don't know. But leave a like and review, subscribe. Peace out, most great. You know what it is. Good.